I bought a collection probably 3 to 4 weeks ago, 25,000 cards. I know there's value in those boxes, but I haven't even touched them because I just haven't had time. Honestly, it's what I like and what I do, and why, if it's a job that I hate. I mean, I love coming to work every day. A lot of people come in here and they're like, "Yeah, I want to open my own store," and I'm like, I tell them some of the stuff I go through, and they're like, "Oh, okay."
So what we could start off with, Joe, is if you want to tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got into gaming and how that led to the impetus of starting your own game store.
Well, since I was in my 20s, I started playing Magic the Gathering. I took a break over the years, but when I got back into it, I met somebody. We started just playing, hanging out, and then he decided it was actually his idea to open a store. So me and him became partners, and then so we've been doing this for about 10 years. But over the last couple of years, he just decided to do something different. So I'm on my own for about a year now.
How long would you say, the desire to have your own store started? Like, how far back does it go, or did you fall into it like by accident, or was it an
It,
intentional plan?
it wasn't intentional, but it's something that it's a passion. So it's kind of felt natural as soon as we started doing it. We also, the other thing is, it's like we do Magic the Gathering and Pokemon, all that stuff, but also video games is a big part of it because if you're just kind of a one trick show, it doesn't go. You need a little bit of vast variety to help you out over the years.
And what have you noticed has been working best for your store in terms of like what is in the most demand?
Magic and Pokemon. So that's the video games are pretty hot still, but those two and then a couple other card games, all the Bandai games and more anime related, have been really popular. But I know in other areas, Yu-Gi-Oh is popular, but that like for some reason this area doesn't have like a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh players. So I just kind of focus on what works.
What do you think that is the reason? I've seen that with other stores I've spoken with as well, that certain games may not work in certain areas. Is it just the popularity of the game, the way the game is marketed out to specific regions? What have
It's
you noticed?
it's part of the gameplay because what I don't know, I've never grew up with Yu-Gi-Oh, but I've heard now that most of the tournaments just kind of go, whoever goes first wins, and it's not a fun format. You got the hardcore people that love playing, but not many people get into it. What I've noticed down here, I'm in Westerly, Rhode Island. They didn't have a game store, and most of everybody got into collecting Pokemon or playing Magic on their own. So that's all they really knew, and never got introduced to a lot of the other card games.
Is there a specific game that you yourself are drawn to?
Well, I've always played Magic Gathering, so I don't mind. I'll play when I get some time. I'll sit down and play with the guys. Store, people come first, so I'm not going to try to take anything away from people experiencing with the store for me to have actually play. But I'll sit down and play a game once in a while.
Is that something I would imagine once you started the store became almost limited?
A little bit, yeah. I would have to find either days off or just hang out with some private people because I don't want to sit down with somebody and somebody wants something behind the counter and I'm like, oh, I'll be with you. I want to make sure I'm here for the customers forefront.
Are you the main person running the store? Do you have any employees to help you out?
Right. Yeah. Right now, I said we've been doing this for 10 years. I said my business partner, you interviewed him, I think last month. He just went a different direction, and so I just rebranded and I'm doing it on my own. So I'm putting the work in up front, and then hopefully I'll get to a point where I'll hire somebody. But I'm here 8 to 10 hours a day, sometimes 12 hours a day. But it's putting the work in and making sure everybody's happy.
When you're doing something like that on your own, and you have to wear so many hats, how do you balance everything out, like from a day-to-day standpoint? Because obviously you're one person, you can't get through everything in a day, especially when you have customers coming in and out. So how do you manage the tasks that have to get done from day
Well,
to day?
right now I'm closed on Sunday and Monday, but as you can see, I'm at the store. So Monday's my day that I come in, I do paperwork, I try to clean as much as I can, and just kind of catch up on things. I'll come in early every day just to make sure everything's all ready to go as when the store's open. So just little things like that help.
So you've definitely found kind of a rhythm. I'm sure those 2 days of having the store closed help some. And then you could, down the line, should you bring on any employees, you can always, if you wanted to, have one of those days that the store was closed, then you could open it if you wanted to.
Yeah, that is the plan.
Is there a number of days during the week that you ideally would like to be open?
Well, the Monday and Sunday and Monday. So this is a very small town, tourist town. It's really quiet here, anyways. In other markets, you want to be open on at least be on market on Mondays, especially because a lot of places like me are closed on Mondays. So a lot of people get drawn to, hey, I get a store that's open on Mondays. So and then also I do so many events now. I'm going to have to be opening soon on Sunday and Monday just to add event schedule.
Are the Monday days where, because a lot of stores tend to do close on Mondays, is there just not the same demand on a Monday with the week getting started? Is that the ultimate reason, or are there, you think, other factors with that?
No, it's just probably Monday is the slowest day. But for me, I mean, I wouldn't mind opening. I just don't want to open 7 days a week because even the slower days, you can get behind the scenes. It's funny because everybody wants to work at a card store, but once you start working at a card store, you realize how much work has to be done. So there's always cards to sort. There's always stuff to do.
What would you say is the most time consuming of all the tasks that are involved with running a game store?
It's just pricing cards. I bought a collection probably 3 to 4 weeks ago, 25,000 cards. I know there's value in those boxes, but I haven't even touched them because I just haven't had time. So,
and do you have to do that as you're helping customers? Is that like the in-between time? If it's not Sunday or Monday, you kind of use that in between.
of course. Yeah, I have to utilize all the time I have to be able to do all that stuff.
When you're holding events during the week, do you have somebody that, a judge or anything like that helps you?
So I have a couple of volunteers. I have a gentleman, Rob, that comes in and helps me with the Bandai games, which is all the anime type games. That's 2 days a week. On Wednesdays and Fridays, I have somebody that just comes in and volunteers and helps while I'm running Magic the Gathering tournaments. And then for Pokemon, there is a professor aspect of it where they just come in and run the tournaments and they organize all the play, and they do that on a volunteer basis, but they also get bonuses and stuff from the company for doing that. So it does help. If I've noticed some couple of times where I didn't have any help and I'm trying to run a tournament and also help customers, and it helps when you have somebody that can run the tournaments.
No, that makes a lot of sense. To do every aspect of it yourself, that could become quite taxing, not only mentally, but physically as well. When you look at why you opened up a store, I know, you had worked with Herbie, who I had on the podcast. And so when you both were doing it together at that period of time, was it one of those things where it was the love of gaming that made you want to do it yourself, or to open up your own store and to host those types of events? Or where do you think in your over the course of your life and in your interest in gaming, where do you think that bug hit you to want to open a store?
Honestly, it's just it's what I like and what I do, and why if it's a job that I hate, I mean I love coming to work every day. And then it comes, it used to be I'm like, hey, I can make some money on the side, and then, but to the point is with the impact you have on the community is where I'm at now. So, I know I'm not going to get rich doing this, but just the, people coming in and like the people that are just kind of awkward, they come in and they feel at home here and they come in and play. So that's where I focus all my energies at.
It's a common theme I hear, that the community is what is a big motivating factor for game store owners. So for you personally, what's a story you could share? It could be something, of a kid getting into a game or something like that. What is it that gives you that almost that high that when, it's like, this is exactly why I do this, that you say to yourself?
Yeah, there's a few customers that have come in and they're very reserved. They in society, they feel awkward. But they keep coming and coming and coming. They feel comfortable and they kind of open up, and then you see them who they are, and then it helps them in the open, helps them in the world. So it is, and there's also a few instances where I have a customer that, before we came down here, him and his buddy used to hang out, and then he had a falling out, and then he had a falling out with his brother, and was going down the wrong road, and we opened up, and now he has, a place to come and be in a community that he's accepted, and kind of turned his life around. So you hear stories like that, it kind of helps you out and wants you to keep going, because today I'm very tired, and I been putting a lot of work in, but I'm here. You got to keep doing this, because it's nothing. As soon as you slow down, and then you feel like you're not doing the best you can. So.
Herbie told me the same thing, the amount of hours, and I've heard this from other store owners, not just Herbie, but, the amount of hours you put in, even after hours, people can be asking you about product or something like that, whether online or something of that nature, email, etc. How do you deal with the immense amount of work and time that it really takes? Because I don't know if everyone listening to this, truly realizes, the amount of hours you're putting in. It's one of the things I always want to highlight, is the amount of effort it takes to run a business of this nature that, you're not going to get rich off of, like you said, but it's a labor of love. And I'm curious how for you, how you, keep yourself energized even when you are tired. Is it simple? Am I oversimplifying in that it's the community itself that is what is the continuous drive to get up, to continue to do it?
Yeah, and it's just the people that you affect. It's I know I can, and I do this all the time. And the other thing I do is I do a lot of shows on the weekends. Next weekend is Musquamaket Fall Fest. I'm going to be on the beach for about 40 hours between Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and I'm going to have to keep up that energy. A lot of caffeine, that helps. But it's just just this thing you see, to see the kids excited about things, and you see people excited. You have to you got to stay positive and keep going.
And how are the returns for those, events? I know doing, whether it be at a convention or, even something regional and smaller, not necessarily that you have to travel to it, but how do you feel the return is for those types of events in terms of how they fuel revenue for the business?
It's just it's also word of mouth. I mean, I'm not expecting, if I meet 1,000 people, if 10 people show up, I did my job. It's not everybody's they're gonna come and want to experience this. Not everybody's into what we do, but it's who you impact.
How long have you been doing events for? Do you travel to any?
Yeah, 2 weeks ago we were down in Pennsylvania. My wife got involved this Renaissance Fair circuit that does 7 shows a year. So we do 3 in Connecticut, 2 in Pennsylvania. I chose not to do the ones in Delaware because that's a little bit cost effective that I don't think I'll make money on. But I've done that. I've gone up to Vermont. With Herbie in Reality A, we did Comic-Con for 3 years. So we've done a lot of shows.
Does your wife help you out at those shows?
Yeah, so she has been my backbone. She's me and her have learned to work well together. So she all these shows now, she I don't have to hire anybody. My son comes and helps me once in a while, but me and her just do it all. So
that must be very nice, though, having work with family to you're doing it, you're in it together, rather than I know hiring people from the outside would be beneficial, but I noticed that that camaraderie of family is something you and Herbie definitely have in common. And it makes sense why you two get along so well. And I know he thinks very highly of you. And it seems like that's a common bond. Do you notice that across, because you both are in Rhode Island. So is that like just a common thing in Rhode Island with the game stores? That's a lot of family.
I don't know about like common. I've only experienced goods and bads with some of the game stores. I there's a game store in Connecticut that I have a relationship with, because there's some people have that cutthroat. They feel like you're kind of intruding on their their business, but there's some people that want to work together. So me and this one other guy in about like a half hour away from us, we coincide our events and make sure we don't overstep each other and send, we work together because we're all in it together. So
I think that's a great mentality to have. Is it as simple as like, you're holding an event, you say, I'm not going to do it this day since you're doing it that day.
yeah.
Okay. Do you exchange like if somebody has product, for example, that
Oh, of
you don't
course.
have?
Yeah, I'll always send people that way. They mostly do. They're into like the tabletop gaming, where I do video games, so they send people my way for video games. Anybody who's doing tabletop, the miniatures, I send them their way, and then everything else we kind of share. But I also we share a customer base too. One of their games that I don't get to fire too much because it's just not popular around here. I have a few people that go to both, so they'll bring some customers here, and then some of my customers go there. So we, it's a camaraderie that helps out the community.
I've always noticed too with the game store business, that the local game store industry, that you all, at least the stores I've talked to thus far, you all help each other out in that regard. And you don't see that obviously in many other areas of business. Do you think that it's because you all know that because of the low margins, you need to help one another out? It's not necessarily, oh, that's a competitor of mine.
Well, that's our mentality. Me and Herbie have experienced people that like we started getting bigger and then they start doing stuff to, oh, we're going to do it better than them and try to, get their business before us. But the one thing we've done together is always, we've had people and they like to come into the store and they're like, hey, you're actually nice. Well, you want to talk to people. We interact with people. There's stores out there, and I'm not naming any names or anything, but they don't want to talk to people. They just want to do their business, sell things, and tell them to go away. But no, we invite people. And everybody's like, oh, am I bothering you? I'm like, no. You're invited. You can stay here anytime, as long as you want. You don't have to spend money. And if you have any questions, just ask. And that's what I do.
I'm guessing you let people also, based on what you said there, you let people just, come in and just play if they want to, not necessarily a tournament. They could just come in and play.
Yeah, my Friday Night Magic, I've tried doing some structure, but mostly everybody here just wants to come play. So I don't charge a fee. I just have people come in, and I usually stay. I'm here 12 hours on Fridays. I could tell people, I'm like, all right, 9 o'clock, we got to go home. But people, that's their one night to get out. So I'll stay here all night for them.
That's great. I mean, it definitely shows you care. And it's one of those things where it's not necessarily just about it's your business that you have to be there, because you're choosing to be there also knowing that there may not be any money coming out of it. So there's definitely what I could tell from what you've described thus far is there's an attachment you have to this, because otherwise you wouldn't be doing it. Would that be fair to say?
Yeah. Depending on the customer, they might not agree with how I price things, and they can just go online and get things cheaper. But other people do appreciate that you can come in, you can see the product, you can handle the card and say, okay, I want to buy this. Or if any sealed products, you can go online and anything I sell, you can find it cheaper somewhere. But it's not always trustworthy. You don't know what you're getting. But it's also, there is an aspect where the MSRP is no longer existed anymore because people either oversell things or underprice things, depending on how fast they want to sell it.
And what about the trading aspect from player to player? Because Pokemon, that seems to be a big thing, unlike Magic.
There is some of that, but mostly it's people come in, like for Pokemon, people come in with their trade binders. We'll have a tournament or just general gameplay, and they'll still trade. But a lot of people will also just go online and buy stuff.
Quick break from this podcast to talk about our sponsor, Cardboard Shuffle. Cardboard Shuffle was our 10th podcast interview here at the Match Slip with store owner Mark. Mark has expanded his brand and has produced his own card sleeves called Shuffle Shields. Shuffle Shields come in packs of 100 premium matte card sleeves for standard size trading cards. They contain no PVC and are acid-free. I have 17 packs of Shuffle Shields card sleeves to give away to listeners of the podcast. You'll need to send a screenshot that you're following Cardboard Shuffle on Facebook to Frank@thematchslip.com.
you had mentioned like you can go online and find it cheaper, and I know everybody you see brings that up, at least from the online community. I'm not sure how often you hear that in the store. Is that something that gets said to you a lot as a game store owner?
Occasionally, say people, my regulars, they understand the situation and they'll pay extra, but it's just the other way around. I've gone in, some of the new Magic products have been pre-selling. There's a new Spider-Man set out that's already at what the MSRP is supposed to be, is already selling $300 more for this product. I'm going to keep it at that MSRP value. I'm going to limit to what people can buy, but I'm also trying to prevent people from like coming in here and scalping. But it's just but there's both sides of it. Some things you can get cheaper, but some things I'll sell that are inflated online, so they know they appreciate both sides.
Where do you think the MSRP aspect of things kind of got out of hand with all of it? Like, I remember before, like if we take Wizards, for example, before they originally took MSRP away and things were at MSRP, I remember there being like, the steady price of literally everything was priced at MSRP. I don't know if the popularity of these two games like Magic and Pokemon is what exacerbated things, or if
I
it's
don't. I
something
wouldn't
else.
say it's just specifically because there's a secondary market, and then the people want the product. I think it's more of a demand for it, or just when COVID happened, we actually thrived through COVID. Also, a lot of people had extra money, and they were out there spending doubling the price of some stuff because that's what they just wanted, and they had money to spend, and everybody adapted that to the society because it's. I know with Pokemon, it comes out and there's so much demand, and you can't. And then I even have a hard time with 3 distributors even getting enough product to satisfy the demand. But then, so that being said, people are going elsewhere to get the product.
So it's one of those things. And before COVID, the demand maybe wasn't as to the levels that it is now.
And also streamers, I say that they're good and bad with the streamers. Streamers are giving all these games uplift and like a new like the collector aspect of it, but like Magic the Gatherings for the players. Collector, Pokemon's always been a collecting part of it, but like Magic the Gathering was never collecting, and now everybody wants to collect, and then it takes away from the players.
That's something that's always shocked me because I play Magic the Gathering not as often as I would have liked to at this point anymore. But I love building decks. Pokemon, I just collect as you
Yeah.
alluded to. How did this? I've been trying to figure out how did Magic get into like what you were saying, the collecting side of it, when we never really saw it to that degree, like the way Pokemon is before. Is it just the fact that when we see all the different variants that are released, and Pokemon's been doing that for a while, but is it that aspect of creating different variants of cards that has kind of transformed Magic in that regard, thus and in a way hurting the players, like you're saying, because then people are trying to collect it versus then the players don't get the cards to be able to play.
Yeah, and it's also the thrill. People love the thrill and all the extra IPs they're going after. Final Fantasy was the best selling set ever, but I had so many people come in. He's like, I haven't played Magic in 15 years, but they have Magic the Gathering Final Fantasy, so they're bringing in new customers, and they're bringing in the collecting aspect of it, and also the collector. The collector boxes now have serialized cards and special cards, and they can run into like thousands, hundreds, and thousands. So people like that thrill. That's where like the Pokemon has always been that thrill of getting that one card that's the worth the most.
And so how do you, as an owner, how do you deal with something then like the Spider-Man set? Like you mentioned, the price is, through the wall, so obviously it's going to be a lot for the consumer, but it's also a lot for you as the owner. How do you navigate this universes beyond?
What I've been doing, and I've been taking this on in a lot of the other card games too, is I'm going to sell it at MSRP. But if you come in here and you want a box of collectors, and I know people there's a resellers, I'm like, well, I'm only limited 3 packs per customer. So and then you want to come back tomorrow, you can get 3 packs. and I'll do it that way. Some of my regulars, I'll allow, I'm starting to do pre-orders, and just a very limited of pre-orders, but I'm just like a new Pokemon set comes out. I 12 packs per customer. I don't even sell boxes anymore. So that allows more people to get products and, more time for product to be on the shelves instead of somebody just coming in and it's like, oh, I'll buy everything you have. And then they can just resell it.
That's interesting. I wonder how many stores are not selling boxes anymore. I know you're doing it intentionally. You're selling the packs. Does that, I would imagine that would be from a profit standpoint, if we talk about just the business side of it, that would seem almost beneficial, no, for you to sell like you're doing, like with the packs individually rather than the box?
It's beneficial, but it's just, I said, I'm only doing it because I have limited product myself, and it's preventing people from coming in and trying to buy out everything I have.
Right.
There's a new Bandai game that they just released, Gundam. Just on release, boxes were doubled online, but I was still selling at regular price. But I incorporated this from somebody else. I heard I would sell the boxes, but take the outer package off, and before I gave it to a customer, and that just kind of prevents resellers also and deters them.
Well, that makes sense too, because once you take the seal off, they, are going to be deterred from trying to.
Yeah, because somebody buying some box that's unsealed now it could be tampered with, or it could be the way Bandai works. All their boxes are seeded on how many hits you get. So a lot of people know that.
Like from a financial standpoint, when you're deciding upon what you need to make profit wise for obviously the store to keep going to be in good standing for your, financially, how much these days do you, since you're selling a lot in MSRP, like you mentioned, how much do you need to make so that, things can still operate smoothly? Like, what would you say? It doesn't have to be an exact number, but like an estimate of, if we take either on a per pack basis, like what needs to be the profit level margin for you to be able to maintain that MSRP that you like doing?
Well, in my case, I'm actually in a better position than some other companies, Herbie included, where I got a smaller store, less overhead, and less employees. So I'm in a position where I can do that, because then I could still make money. Some of the bigger companies might, they might have the bigger overhead, and it might be worth for them to kind of sell it at above MSRP. So that's kind of a hard question to ask, because I do my best to keep everything, but there is, even selling at MSRP and what I buy it for, there's room for profit. People who do sell it over MSRP and have that, they're just making extra money off of it, but the demand's so high, people still will buy it.
That's a great point too. I mean, you kind of think about too, when you're starting off and you have a store and you see it growing and, things are going well, one of the normal inclinations is people are like, oh, I want to get a bigger store. But like you mentioned, having a smaller store, you have the lower overhead on top of it, especially it's just yourself doing it. So you're not having to worry about the employees right now. Do you think there's almost something to be said about maybe not expanding the store? I know there's pluses and minuses on both sides of it, but I'm curious your take on it.
Right now, in the way it is, and I've been hearing this from people that have been in business for 40 years, all the distributors, all the product is getting limited for everybody, and then I don't know if this is true or not. I've heard that because of the streaming aspect of it, the streamers actually go directly to the distributors, but they charge the streamers more, so the distributors are catering to the streamers because they're making more money, and they're less towards the stores. So even if I wanted to do a high end, like say I wanted 100 boxes of Spider-Man, I'm fighting to get maybe maybe 40% of that. So I couldn't even make a big profit off of it because I'm not getting the product. So being a smaller store is a beneficial aspect of it, but it's like big plans. You want to expand, and you want to get more people involved. Because if I could double my sales, I would need to double my product, and I can't get the product.
It's funny you mentioned the streamers because Herbie, I think, brought this up to me as well. And it caught me off guard because I didn't know that streamers could get product directly from distributors. I thought you needed to be, like a game store, like to actually have a physical retail space to do it. I'm sure at some point you did. Is that something new that has recently been allowed at the distributor level?
I don't know any details on that. It's just what people tell me. So there's no, like I don't have all the facts behind me. I'm just, this is what I've been hearing. But I believe once you have a following, if you're on Whatnot and you have a big following, they're going to, they know you have a lot of money to spend. That's what distributors all care about right now, is how much money you're spending with them and how much money they can make. So they'll make exceptions.
So, okay. So it really is just how much you're willing to spend. They're almost, I know you said that you don't have anything definitive, but just from a high level overview, it seems like if you could show them, whether you're a store or a streamer, that you're willing to spend and buy the various product lines that they want you to buy, they'll cut a deal with you essentially.
Yeah. And this is all, like I said, this is what I've been hearing, just talking with people, but also talking with, like, there's a local company that's been in business 40 years. And I'm thinking, hey, technically I've only been doing this for a year. So maybe they're just like, I'm the low on the totem pole. They've been doing it for 40 years and they're still having the same distributor issues than I am. So there's something going on. Also, you can go to Cumberland Farms. You can go to is Ace Hardware locally, and then all the craziness at Walmart and Target. I mean, all that product is being spread out so much. Then when it comes to the smaller stores, we're getting left out.
So it's like you go in there asking for, I'll just use a small number. I want 10 boxes of Spider-Man, for example, and they're probably coming back and saying, we can give you 4.
Yeah.
That type of thing.
Yeah.
Now,
Well, I'll use my Bandai, because I know Magic, but like Bandai is another game, and I use like this One Piece card game. I've been doing tournaments for 2 years now and building up my rep. And I'll go in and order 60 boxes. And the last time I had it, I got 32. So that's half of what I was asking for. And there's no, with Wizards as reprints. With Bandai, they have so many IPs, they're one and done. So they print and they move on. And I'll end up with no product for like after half the release. And people are still looking for product and I can't get it. But if I ordered the 60 boxes, I might still have it for a little while, but they just don't give it to me.
And do you just have to wait, like, for example, like to get more product? I know sometimes, like you mentioned, it's not going to happen, but would that be something that would get communicated to you from the distributor level, or would you hear about it from the company itself, like Bandai, Pokemon, Wizards?
So it's now the companies are kind of just dictating how much you get. Wizards of the Coast does that. It's like, you have to establish your store. You start out with, you do a pre-release. A year ago when I started and rebranded, I'm like, all right, I can do 15 people. And I'm like, I have 60 people that want to do the pre-release and I can only do 15. And now I'm up to 60. You have to build, but like, if they won't give you any extra. But with some of the other stuff it's just whatever they can give you, or the company itself, the distributors. I've noticed that the reps have less control, where the higher ups are now kind of controlling. So even if I ask the reps, they have to go and ask their bosses.
Right.
And I've kind of had to escalate that a couple of times with some things. I'm like, dude, I need product. I need to do events, and you're not even giving me enough to do events.
Do they know, like, I'm guessing, like if you take a pre-release, for example, and you have the people signed up and it's a sanctioned event. So it's, you put it through the corresponding app on the computer. And now if you take Wizards, for example, they're able to see that data that
Yes.
such and such number of people attended the pre-release. Will that help you in the next in the next round of releases?
Yeah. So with Wizards, we got up to doing five events with Reality A. So once I split off, I had to start from the bottom. But even if the distributors have helped me, like this next event, I got extra pre-release kits. I don't get extra prize support because they do allow you to do a little bit of prize support to give you. So I just I use my own product for price support to make sure the customers get their good experience.
Because since you're having to do that, because that's then cutting into, you don't, because I know in the past, at least how I remember it when I was playing, that prize support would be a separate allocated, say, box, for example, to hand out for packs for, pack per win or something of
Yeah.
that nature. And it seems like that's obviously changed. So when you're dealing with that, like, so say you were starting off with you were able to have 15 people show up at the pre-release, but say you had 30 that wanted to show up, and you're calling Wizards asking, can we get more? And they say no. But then then the next time around, they're giving you more. It would seem like they would want to buffer to give you that wiggle room to have not only price support, but to be able to accommodate more players, especially when you're able to, show them that that's the case. And with the escalation having to happen at the distributor level, is that something new that's happened? Is that what's almost adding to the, I guess, bottleneck here with getting product?
And they might be protecting themselves too, because there might be people out there just trying to like you can go in and you can forge whatever you want. And like they want to see that actual people are showing up and playing, and then that. I don't agree with it, but I mean, I can't call Wizards and say, hey, I've doubled my customer base and I need to do this. And they're like, well, you got to earn your stripes. So I think they've always done that in the past, because I said, been doing this for 10 years and kind of restarting it's a different time. But it's as long as the distributors can give me the pre-release product. If I have to sacrifice a box or two to get things going, it's just going to help me in the long run. So I don't mind making that sacrifice.
I see. And so even though you and Herbie had the store together at one point and they knew about that arrangement there, going off on your own, they treat it as like literally starting over. It's not even knowing that you've done it before.
Yep. Yeah, that's all it is. And also, even if we opened a second store, unfortunately, we never applied to get a second when we first started doing this because this was a second Reality A. This I won't go into details what happened, but me and Herbie agreed that like when we split off, like we wanted to keep the community, and supposedly he had a buyer that wanted to take everything elsewhere, and I think that's why Herbie's still doing what he's doing, because he cares about the community. But we never had as a second store. We never set this up as a second store. So it's technically a brand new store. So if you open a second store, even if you have a bigger account, they start you from the bottom, even though you have the same name. And that's what I was assume what happened anyways.
Would you say then that is the biggest challenge right now with running your store is obtaining the product, or would you say it's something else?
Nope, it's obtaining the product, especially Pokemon. I know there's other distributors out there, and I have to venture out and then to check them out. But I have a couple of distributors. If you spend more money with us, we'll give you more products. I know they have the products, like in the back of my head, they have it somewhere. And they're catering to their bigger clients. But one of my distributors one time, I escalated something and told them I would take my business elsewhere. The next week, I put an order in, and mysteriously, here's 2 cases of Pokemon that I've been asking for every single week. So it mysteriously showed up, and then there was a couple other times where I put an order in for some non-Magic, non-Pokemon stuff, which is what they're trying to get you to do, is buy dead product. And then all of a sudden it's like, hey, by the way, I can give you this time, this. So they're holding back and catering to people that are spending more money. But
and so when it comes to that,
and that's just my opinion, but that's what I feel it's what's happening.
So when it comes to that dead product that they're wanting you to buy, that's really just to get it off of their balance sheet, I guess, and just reallocate it to you.
So they're doing their business. That's their business mottos. Get people to buy stuff that they can't sell, or they don't sell all the time, and then they'll give you stuff you really want.
Was that how it was always done? Because this I truly don't know.
No, I don't think so. Herbie, when I worked with Herbie, I had Herbie did all this stuff behind the scenes. He was good at all the paperwork. I can see the headaches he's had to deal with over the years now. Because I remember at one point, if we needed a case of Magic, we just call up and get a case of Magic. Now I'm like, do you have anything? I have one distributor that laughs at me once in a while. I'm like, do you got this? And he's like, yeah, I know. So it's a really weird time.
The Pokemon conundrum, like, shocks me. Like, to be honest, I talked to Herbie a little bit about this, where, you know, prior to COVID, I couldn't tell you the last time I heard Pokemon referenced. I didn't see it in the game store I went to at the time. And then once COVID happened, Pokemon came back. I thought it was going to be a bubble that burst. That was just like a thing, you know, that came back. But now it seems like it's here to stay, and it's bigger than it's ever been.
It's bigger than it's ever been. So the other issue I have with our distributors, I don't want to name any names, but the distributors are turning into be scalpers now, because there's some distributors, their first allocation, they'll give you a little bit, and then later on they're like, oh, we have more, but we have to pay more. So I hate when people come in and like, my prices are high. The only time my prices are higher is if I have to pay higher prices. And a lot of times I'll get them off the third party market, or I do the distributors. I have a box of Pokemon Cup on the shelf right now that I have to charge $9 a pack. And that's because I bought it through a distributor, and I had to pay that much to get it, when they're supposed to be, technically it's supposed to be like $5 a pack.
Right. And with having to delve into the secondary market to buy stuff, I mean, now you're dealing with, it's not like you're even getting the good deal like you would at one point with, that can give you that leeway to get profit from the distributor. Now you have to go into the secondary market where you're paying at cost. And so when did you see that start to become a thing? Because I've noticed more and more stores have been having to go that route due to the issues with getting the product that they need. When did you first start to see that happen?
Well, since I started, because last October is when I split off, and haven't been doing this, and I've had to build, and build a rapport with the distributors, and I just can't get product. I'll go on TCG and buy stuff, and I'll have to upcharge. Well, at least I have it on the shelf. And the fact that what bothers me the most is I feel bad when I have to upcharge. People don't even blink an eye anymore. They just come in, they're like, oh, that's a good price, and buy it. So it seems like everywhere is just upcharging, where I'm trying to keep everything low, but even if I upcharge, everybody else it's becoming that's what everybody's doing. So
yeah, I'm glad you hit on that point, because that's what actually has shocked me as well, which is seeing how high some of the prices get, especially for Pokemon related stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And like you mentioned, nobody bats an eye to it. And, I still will look at something and, and I'll just pretty much determine if I think it's too high for me, I just won't get it. But, the degree at which, people aren't even thinking twice about it. And, like you mentioned, there are a lot of scalpers, a lot of people just buying it to resell it, which does hurt the traditional collector and the player. But I almost wonder, and I don't know if this is something that's crossed your mind as well too, is what is the comfortability price from a Pokemon standpoint that people are like, all right, that's too high? Because right now it doesn't seem like there's any like threshold.
Yeah, it's really weird. I don't like, some people come in and they're like, they just scoop everything up, and I feel bad selling it at that price, and they're like, oh, this is good price, and I don't understand it either.
Yeah, it's a crazy.
I know to switch it to Magic the Gathering, Wizards of the Coast is kind of just, they're doing this to, I don't know how they're doing this, but like now, you print the cards, everything costs the same to print, but now they're getting the IPs. Maybe they have to pay for the IP, like Final Fantasy, but they're charging more. They're bringing up the demands. Now if the collector's packs have serialized cards, there's no aspect of reprinting them, so now that's going to be rare. So Final Fantasy, for instance, like the collector's boxes when they came out were $450. And now you can only buy them for about $1,500 right now.
I know the prices have gone astronomical, and I asked Herbie this too, so I'm curious how it is from your side. Have you seen, outside of people looking for the product, has Universes Beyond delivered what Wizards has said publicly, and that new players are coming into the game. Do you see?
That, yeah, they're getting that. The Spider-Man set, the Avatar set. It's just people who play. It's just like, oh, Avatar. I love Avatar. I can't wait for that set. They play, but they're also the collector aspects, or the especially Final Fantasy. I'm a big Final Fantasy fan, so they got me on that. And I've had players come in, they haven't played in like 10 years, and they're like, oh, I've seen Final Fantasy, I got to come play. So they're doing it, but the price points are just keep going up and up, and it's not going to come down.
Yeah, no, I don't see it coming down or adjusting anytime soon, especially like you said, with the demand. That's the key driver in all of this, in all this too. From the flip side of things, we talked about the struggles involved with running a game store business. On the opposite side of that, what are some things that you would like to point out that you feel have been working out really well right now?
Well, just getting people. It's funny how I'm addicted to my phone, but I've seen people coming and playing, and then they're actually interacting with people, and I don't see them sitting there on their phones. So that's a good thing to see. A lot of there's not a lot of kids even playing. But some of the kids that come in, they get excited about it. That's the other thing. 90% of my Pokemon crowd are 20 and over. It's hard to get the kids in, but the younger kids like collecting. So,
have you done anything like with the younger kids in terms of Pokemon? I've heard the learn to play types of events work well. Have you dabbled in that at all?
Well, yes, I don't play. I learned to play once a long time ago, but we offer here, my professor does a league challenge tournament once a month, but every other week is just come in, and then we introduce people to the game. The Pokemon does a really good job of providing him with all the free decks to give out. What Magic does it too, so you get a lot of younger kids that, oh, you want to learn how to play, come on in and we'll teach you how to play. So that gets kids in there, but a lot of the kids just want to collect.
Yeah, no, it's understandable. I mean, I get it with Pokemon from the, people like myself. I'm 37, that grew up with it back in the 90s and whatnot. And so I see the appeal toward that, and for me, the original Pokemon are always what I collect. But it's amazing seeing the kids getting into it, that didn't grow up necessarily with it. And they obviously like the modern cards and all that. Like, what do you think is it about Pokemon that has drawn such a, wide a range of interest from various age groups? It makes sense why it's appealing to my age group, but even, going younger than that, I wonder what has had this long-standing popularity amongst Pokemon compared to Magic. We know Magic is popular because of how great the gameplay is with it. That's always been its selling point. I wonder with Pokemon, what do you think from a game store standpoint? You can also share your own personal opinion. What do you think is it about Pokemon that keeps people, so engaged with it?
Well, now you bring it back to the family aspect of it. So I never played Pokemon, but my son was younger. I was in the game store business, so I would buy Pokemon cards for him. So you got the older generation when they were younger, they collected. Now they're reliving it, but now they can also pass it along to their young generation. So I do have a lot of families that'll come in, and then there's some families that are like, I don't know anything about Pokemon, but a lot of them like, oh, I collected when I was younger, and they get involved with it too. So that might be and then they go also. We try to deter this. I tell parents all the time because of just fake cards and then people cheating younger kids out of good cards, but it's also in the schools. It's all over the schools. So now that all the kids are in school, they're trading. And
so as we shift a little bit here to what you're looking for towards the future of the store, like anything you have planned or anything that you're looking at, beyond the horizon that you would like to see happen with the store. Now that you're, running it on your own at this point, is there anything that's top of mind for you in that regard?
You touched on it, but it's still, we're in that zone. I'm running out of room. I can definitely like put a lot more stuff in the store. I like to have a lot more stuff to offer, but it's having a smaller store. It's very tough, and also knowing the struggles. Even if I wanted to open a second location, it's going to be tough to get the product if I don't get the support from the distributors. So I'm right now I'm comfortable with where I'm at. I don't think with all the hindrances, it's tough to even think about opening a store. A lot of people come in here and they're like, "Yeah, I want to open my own store," and I'm like, I tell them some of the stuff I go through, and they're like, "Oh, okay."
Could you describe a little bit, Joe, how you have your store laid out, like where the product is, like, somebody walking in for the first time, like that, that's not in the area.
When we bought this store, because me and Herbie started from scratch. I'm sure he told you the whole, like, we started with a little tiny store with our own collection. Here, I kind of had a little advantage because it was already set up as a sports card shop. So when you walk in, I have 6 cases full of Magic cards and Pokemon cards, and I have the shelves behind me all with the product. If you can see above me, all the way down, that's all the different product. And then the other side of the store is all video game related. And then I have made arrangements in the store where I can hold 28 to 32 customers. I can add one table, which just gets a little tight in here. I would love to. I've seen things online where I can get rid of these cases and have like a wall unit that has the case that hold the cards and just get more space, because there's some nights I get a little too crowded in here.
So that's where essentially the having more space would be beneficial from having to be able to fit more players in.
Yeah, there's a couple of nights where I've had to turn people away, and I hate doing that. And then also scheduling the pre-releases. I'll have my regulars. Pre-releases will bring out extra people, so that's always that risk of not having enough room. So, but even like I have like the play mats. I would love to have it like spread out so people can see, but they're all kind of stacked up on a shelf. There's a lot of improvements that I would love to do. It's just the space would be the issue.
Yeah, I hope, for you, when you're ready, that you'll be able to get that, second location so you can have that more space. I know it's down the line, like you were kind of mentioning.
Yeah.
But I'm sure that would, when you get to that point, I'm sure that would alleviate a lot of, probably, I'm sure, the frustration that can occur, especially since, like you mentioned, you don't want to turn people away. And granted, that's like almost a positive and a negative thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I've grown. I've been down here for 2 years, and I've grown the community, and I have a good reputation, so people come in and they appreciate what I do. But it's just I can only grow so much.
Yeah, no, I completely understand that. How'd you come up with the name of the store? Because I know you mentioned the Reality A Gaming, which was yours and Herbie's at the time, and then when you branched off into your own, how did you come up with the name change?
Well, so circumstances were happening, and it was kind of a quick thing. So it was me scouring the internet with just combos of names that kind of made sense or came to my mind, and this wasn't something taken. So I found a Cardboard Chaos, which somebody created a game for dogs. So, and I decided to put the games at the end, so there was no Cardboard Chaos games. So, and then I don't know if you've seen my logo. So there's a couple aspects on that, like kind of hidden things. If you notice the end of the games, that's the tap symbol for Magic.
Oh, wow, that's creative. Yeah,
So,
I like that.
And then the rune on the cards is actually the rune of chaos. So it's just little things that me and my wife discussed and made me understand what I was doing. So, and then if you play Magic the Gathering, it's very chaotic, and it's made out of cardboard, so it all fits.
Yeah, it's a brilliant way to put it all together. I like that a lot. It's a great name. So as we wrap up here, Joe, just wanted to give you the chance to tell anybody about where they could find out more about your store. Thank you for coming on. It's been fun talking, getting to hear about your story. But as we wrap up here, where can people find out more about the store if they are in the area of where you are in Rhode Island, or if online they want to connect with you at all?
So right now, I'm in Westerly, Rhode Island. It's 61 Friendship Street, right around the corner from downtown Westerly. This is a nice tourist area. In the wintertime, it's a very small town. In the summertime, it's very busy because of tourists. I'm not a big fan of Taylor Swift, but she's in Watch Hill in Westerly, so that's another thing. I do have my social medias. It's just Facebook is Cardboard Chaos Games, and Instagram's Cardboard Chaos Games. I do not have an online presence yet as a website. I'm still working on that, but any of those places you can check me out.
Awesome. Well, thank you again, Joe, for taking the time to do this. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, awesome. I appreciate it.